Hi and welcome back to Pillars of Eternity. So we have arrived in Defiance Bay and already done a quest for a lady called Kainra, and it was about her husband being well, impersonated by a mage, so we killed the mage and freed her husband. Anyway, this left us with a lot of level ups. And also some dialogues with our party. So let's just get going with the level ups. So we start with Eder, our fighter, and he will keep on going to athletics. He doesn't look very impressive with this small buckler and a letter cutter or something. Okay, so we have a fighter abilities. I think this is perhaps the first or second one we get. So let's check them out. We have vigorous defense, which is 1 per encounter, and it will increase all defenses. And the defenses is the things that makes you harder to hit. Then we have additional damage with different weapon types. So we could increase our weapon damage for our small stiletto if you would like to, since he already has weapon specialization ruffian for better aim. And then we have this one. Converts graces to hits and additional minimum damage. I think this sounds quite good. I like passive effects, but at the same time this warrior or fighter has he only has the knockdown, so I could use more active abilities as well. Then we have this one, 1 per encounter, increase the accuracy by 10. And then a guardian stance. The fighter devotes all his or her energy to defending allies. Lower accuracy but increased deflection on nearby allies. Yeah. I don't know if you can use 2 models at the same time. Only 1 model ability in a category can be activated at any given time. Yeah, it doesn't really say if I can use this as well as defensive stance at the same time. Into the fray. The fighter lunges through the battle, pulling an enemy into immediate melee range. So 2 per encounter, 5 meter range. So will it like pull them towards us? Or will it lunges the fighter forward? It's a little bit counterintuitive here. I would like to have this defense active ability, but into the fray sounds much more fun, so let's go with that one. I wonder which level he is. Level 5, so do I always get class abilities at level 5, or how does it work? Okay, so we will have to increase the mechanics because we often lack the mechanics for traps now, so okay, that wasn't much of a choice. Seems like we got level 3 spells. We have to check these out. Let's go to our mage then, and he can max out lore. Can I get higher than 10? Perhaps I can. Strange, I didn't know that. So we have to choose 2 spells, and now we can choose level 3 spells. Makes sense that I choose 2 level 3 spells then. So we have Arcane Dampener. Beneficial effects suspended for 21 seconds. Okay. So we can debuff all the positive effects on our enemies. Or just delay a motion. Okay, so they will have less attack speed for quite a long time. Versus will. It's a small area of effect, but it's interesting. Concealhout's Draining Touch. Okay, drains 30 corrode damage as endurance and leave them weakened. It's interesting, but it's likely melee attack, which isn't very impressive with the caster. Okay, so here we can use a lightning bolt that harms everything in the path. So it's most likely just as well. I can't check it out now, but we had one of these bouncing flame balls or something. So I guess it's the same, but for shock damage. It's quite long, 46 meters, so it will be bouncing around a lot. And what's this? Increasing the attack speed for my mage, but draining endurance. I wonder if attack speed increases our casting speed as well. Otherwise it's worthless. Reducing damage reduction, deflection and concentration on our enemies. That can be quite interesting. I mean, it's for almost a half a minute, so can be a lot of damage. Then we have a fireball. I can't remember which spells are already in the grimoires, so let's check him out first, because I have a lot of grimoires. Let's put all these in the quick items like this. So we have no spells learned at all at level 3. That's too bad, but we have a lot of these grimoires, so we can learn Fireball, for example, and this Crackling Bolt. So don't really need to level them up. There's a lot of these spells I could learn from the grimoires. Is that the same? Okay. So I will not choose Crackling Bolt or Fireball, because I can just learn them or use this grimoire instead. So let's go back to level up. This will take the whole episode, I think. So go with lore again. Kalakoth's Minor Blights. Creates a ball of energy in the caster's hand that can be thrown at an enemy, causing burn, freeze, corrode or shock damage to anyone caught in the area of effect. Okay, so I can stand and throwing like burning balls in for 84 seconds. It doesn't say how much damage it will do. So how can I know if this spell is good? Perhaps it just uses my weapon damage or something. Okay, so this increases our deflection and reflex defenses. That's okay, but so situational. We can use this one. Missiles that bounces to 2 additional targets. It's piercing damage. I don't really like piercing damage that much. It feels so weak. Noxious Cloud. This will do friendly damage as well. It seems like it's not lingering, it's a noxious cloud, but I can't see that it will last for some time, so. Ringwim's repulsive visage. Okay, so we can use it to sicken and terrify foes. Yeah, I'm not sure. I will use this expose vulnerabilities and noxious bursts. Let's try that throwing burning, freeze and crow damage. It might be interesting. And then we have our priests. Let's go with some athletics. And lore, just because I don't know why, but okay, so he got new spells as well. There will be a lot of reading spells in this episode. And our chanter. I have too many guys that's invested heavily in lore. So we have new phrases. We can learn level 2 phrases. And these are the ones that you use all the time, like a passive buff almost. And then when you have used 3 of them, you can cast a spell. So we have defense against frightened attack and terrifying attack. We have an aura. Okay. Allies leave a hazardous trail of frost whenever they move, hobbling and causing freeze damage to enemies. That sounds interesting. Increasing range attacks and reload speed. This will reduce accuracy for enemies against our people when we use disengage. Let's try this rhyme of frost followed blah blah blah. And let's just remember to use it as well. Not that I remember how you do it. Is it with this one? Yeah. Something like this. And then we have
point the way.
Our ranger, but she hasn't leveled up yet. But she's very, very close. Okay. And now we have to check out our new level 3 spells. So, Brittle Shell. Encase a target in a protective shell, absorbing a fixed amount of damage before shattering, but preventing the target from taking actions, including moving. Okay. So it will give us 100 point of damage absorption, but we cannot use our target. I mean, if you use this in a fight, the enemy should just ignore that target. I mean, there is no reason for them to attack it, but I guess the AI will attack it anyway. Infestation of maggots, that was the one attack that we got affected by in the forest, by the smaller tree dudes. Enemies in the area of effect have their skin infested by hordes of burrowing maggots, inflicting raw damage over time. The more wounded the target, the greater the damage. Okay. 10 damage by percentage of endurance lost over 26 seconds. Yeah, it's still not completely clear what it does. I mean, it sounds really, really good. Because, I mean, 10 damage by percentage of endurance lost. That's crazy. Sounds OP. Nature's Balm. It's a heal. Pure purge of toxins. Okay. Defense against poison and disease for half a minute. It's only one person I can use it on. Returning Storm. Brings a powerful storm into being, striking enemies in the area of effect periodically with bolts of lightning that stun and deal shock damage. Okay. Sounds interesting. I don't have to aim it at all, I just use it and it will cause lightning bolts to hit our enemies. Spreading Plague. Infects the target with the virulent and debilitating disease, hobbling and weakening them before spreading to other enemies. Okay, so it can jump to 5 targets and they will be hobbled and weakened. It's an interesting one, I think. It's a really nasty debuff at least. Stag's Horn. Conjures an enormous stag horn to attack the target, causing piercing damage and inflicting a penalty to deflection and reflex. So that's a lot of piercing damage. Twin Stones. Sends 2 deadly boulders flying out from the druid's position, dealing crush damage to anyone in their path and exploding on contact with a solid surface, causing the fragments to pierce anyone nearby. That sounds interesting. It sounds like I will most likely do a lot of friendly fire, but I have to try it. And then we had our priest. He got some new spells as well. Circle of Protection. Okay. Creates a large zone of divine shelter, granting allies a bonus to all defenses. Okay. So for such a short time though, it can be nice. Nagging doubt in the faces of unbreakable faith consumes enemies in the area of effect, lowering their melee accuracy and critical hit range. Okay. At least this lasts for longer. Not the most impressive one I have ever seen. Dire Blessing. Strengthen allies face all in battle, increasing the probability they will land a critical hit. That's really nice. 20% of hits converted to crits for half a minute. Pillar of Faith. Calls down a pillar of divine judgment, inflicting crush damage and knockdown on enemies in the area of effect. It's a very small area of effect, but it does a lot of crushing damage. So, and if they are prone for 11 seconds, that's just crazy. This seems like a spell that you should use on mages, because I think mages will have low fortitude defense. Okay, what do we have more than? Pray against restraint. Okay, free allies in the area of effect from perceived constraints, granting a bonus against attacks with hobbled or stuck afflictions and reducing the duration of any such afflictions currently on the target. Okay, so we can reduce, if we get stuck we can use it to unstuck people. I don't know how that's different from, for example, suppress affliction, because this is hostile effect suspended for 17 seconds. Perhaps this will suspend them for this time, but then afterwards they will continue. I don't know. It's such a it's not easy to understand this game. Shares a portion of the caster's divine strength. Okay, this is just a larger heal then. And then we have Warding Seal. So this is a trap that does shock damage, and then we have extra endurance. Okay. So this is a heal we should use when someone is slow. Interesting. I think that's all. Let's just talk to Eder and Sagani.
The dozens. Pretty sure you won't find one among them who stood within 100 miles of that bridge when the Godhammer went off. Too bad, too. Then there'd be less of them.
A Godhammer? That's what they called the bomb they blew up Waidwen with. Don't know much about it other than that. Anything that kills a living god, guess you gotta name it. Why do you call themselves the Dozens? Was 12 dear Woodens stood against Helgut Citadel waiting for Waidwen to cross the bridge there. They had to hold him there long enough for the Godhammer to detonate, and that's what they did. Sounds like 300 or whatever. What do you have against the Dozens? No, nothing serious. Nothing I don't have against a lot of folk anyway. The Dozens, they like to take things into their own hands. It gets ugly sometimes. We don't have them in Gilded Whale, but they be right at home there. They picked that name so they could do what they wanted and feel like it was right. Okay, what they wanted and feel like it was right. Got nothing to do with honor and sacrifice. They like to invoke Magran too, when they especially want to feel right. Somehow I don't think she'd be too impressed with that lot. I'm sure she'd like to set them on fire anytime they use her name, but the gods probably got rules against that kind of thing. Yeah. Guess they have. People hide behind symbols so it can't be questioned. Too bad, I wouldn't mind seeing something like that. Proof that gods are just. What I wouldn't give for a little of that. Okay, he wasn't impressed with that answer. Let's continue on. Good idea. Okay. Let's talk to Sagani as well.
Even if you are putting one over on me, it's nice to have a hunting party again.
You've been searching for Persok for 5 years?
5 years for me. Must be 30-something for Ichimak.
Because dog years, I guess. What an adventure!
It certainly started out that way. It's been a long hunt. A long time away from my family. Before, I'd crossed the tundra of Nasitok following caribou herds. I didn't want to leave Kalu and our children, but I was eager to visit lands my people rarely do. But 5 years without finding him. It's like 2 hours of necking. I'm ready to be done with it.
Why do you have to find Persok?
Soul recovery is an old village tradition. We call it the Tarnek Elite Sok. Once in a generation, we seek the soul of a much respected and long dead village elder. We tell him what's changed in the village, how people remember him. The only other Tarnek Elite Sok during my lifetime happened when I was a girl, not long after Persok died. We feasted on blubber and fermented milk for a week, and we honored the chosen huntress as a hero. Then she left, and we returned to our duties. We still sang her name to the skies during festival season, but we otherwise didn't speak of her.
I'm sure the village still remembers you, Sagani. Yeah, let's go with that one. You're kind to say so, but I'm not so fragile that I need my name chanted in the meeting halls.
It's not being forgotten by my village that troubles me. But sometimes I wonder how my husband and children remember me, if they think of me often.
Returning to them is what matters. Both practical and true.
Still, there's no point in dwelling on it. More often I find myself wondering whether Persok will remember us. You claim to see souls. What do you think? Do you remember your past lives?
I don't know. No, not clearly. I figured most people don't anyway. I suppose that's why I'm supposed to remind Persok of what he left behind in our village. What would you tell him about your village?
Masuk is probably much the same as it was 100 years ago. We live between tundra and frozen forests, and the land takes as much as it gives. But our hardships bring us together. And the elders truly unite us. They keep the stories of past generations, and they guide us from season to season, through good years and lean.
Recently, they've been a lot of good years. My aunt says we had fewer clashes with neighboring villagers thanks to the hunting territories that Persak helped establish. In bad years, we rely on trade with merchants that pass our shores, who exchange walrus tusks and seal pelts for grains that last us the hard winters. Persak brokered a lot of these agreements too. He got this from one of the Mauna ships that used to trade with us. Yeah, so it's the bear figurine that she's been carrying around she's talking about. Sounds like Persak did a lot of things for your people.
That's what I'm supposed to remind him.
Sounds like you're on a hunt of your own though. You're feeling the thrill of the chase, or ready for this to be over? It's too early to tell. Fair enough. Might as well keep moving while we got some daylight. I'd like to talk some more. Ooh, this is a lot of things to talk about. I think I will go through all this, but then end this episode. It will be an episode with me leveling up and talking to my party, and then I will continue in the next one. So, I want to know about your homeland. Nasitak. It's a big island in the middle of the Deadfire archipelago, just off the coast of the White and that wends, tundra mostly, with a few snow-covered forests in the warmer parts. Most of us live in fairly small villages, by standards here anyway. Mine is Masuk. What is Nasitak like? Cold, but not as cold as the White that wends. The few kith who visit Nasitak find it sparse, but there's plenty to sustain a village if you know where to look. We get hides and meat from caribou, seals and small whales, bone too, which makes fine bows and arrowheads. Community is important to us. We survive or perish together, so everything we do, every week-long hunt, every wall we build is for the village. Who lives there? Mostly Nutanic like me. People here call us Boral dwarves. Migratory clans of Glamfallan from the White that wends sometimes send the colder season on Nasitak. But we don't see too many other foreigners who can tolerate the elements. Okay. Those of us born in Nasitak like to say we have a harder layer of seal skin just beneath our flesh. Tell me more about Masuk, her village. We are a tundra village. To an outsider eyes, we are probably not much different from the others around us, but our elders have stories that go back hundreds of years, epic hunts and battles with neighboring villages. Sojourns across the sea. We share these stories too. That's all. Oh, that was only one of these? Okay. What do you do back in Nasitak? I'm a long hunter. I stalk game across the tundra with some of the other wives. We usually hunt caribou and oxen, but we find hares and birds too. It's a good and respected position to see so much of Nasitak in the company of my friends and sisters. This is one of the pleasures of the life in Masuk. Tell me about Itumak, that's her dog. A good hunter but not much of a talker, and that's been fine with me. When we hunt in Nasitak, we almost always bring our foxes with us. Yeah, so it's a fox and not a wolf. They help us track and flush game, and they are fearless defenders against bears and snow leopards. Clever Itumak has always been my favorite. You have a family back in your village? Of course. We never send a woman that has had a chance to find a mate and a couple of children of her own. Tell me about your children. I had 5. Shakuna, Estuya, Naiwa, Anik and Malak. Estuya and Anik died young in a long lean winter. Malak was barely talking when I left. He probably won't know me when I get home. Even in Nasitak, I spend most of my time on the hunt, but then it's easier to relish the hunt when I know I see my family enjoying our kill. What's your husband? I mean, I won't go this into this one. What's your husband like? Kalu's a good man. He raised our children well and built a strong home while I've been away on hunts. Our parents chose us for one another when we were still very young. Not the way things are usually done here, but ours chose well. We came to appreciate each other as helpmates first, then friends, and then, well, you know how it goes. Okay, well, let's just go here. It's interesting that it seems like it's the women that is out hunting and the man stays at home. Aren't you worried your husband will? Are you kidding? I'm the best shot in Massacre. Yeah, okay. I'm curious about your search for Persok. I'll tell you what I can, but the Tarnak Ilistak pilgrimage like mine are rare. Okay, I have no idea what you're talking about. Why do you people have this tradition? It's something we always done. The elders say it was first begun to forge ties with other villages. It's hard to fight over a caribou herd when you see someone you respect on the other side. We also believe that passing our history on this way keeps us stronger, and it helps them, the elders I mean, return to us after they've been away for a generation or more. They can use the experience they accumulated over lifetimes to lead the village again. Okay, so that sounds strange, but let's roll with it. We'll roll with it. Our elders usually reborn so far away from the village. Most often they return somewhere in Nastak, a member of another village, or they are reborn among the Glamfallen of the White that ends. Even so, it's hard to say that's usual. When my grandfather was a boy, the elder came back as a polar bear. The huntress chosen for the task had to recite half of her village deeds while running from the beast. Even so, there have been journeys longer than mine. Some last decades, and the huntress doesn't always return. What happens when the elder is found? That depends on the man or woman he's become. It's easiest when the rebirth happens in another village of the Nazitak, where the tradition is understood. Even in the White that wends and the southern island of the Deadfire archipelago, people understand this custom and will welcome you politely enough, even if their souls do not remember. But sometimes you find someone whose soul has no memory of the village, and you have to tell him of the people who remember him still. As disheartening as this is, you hope that the reminder will aid his soul in a future life. Okay. How did you get picked to come to search for Persok? Another old village tradition. The elders watched the caribou migrations and cast seal bones to determine the right time for this journey. When the omens were determined, all village wives drew sharks' teeth. We are the ones that go away to hunt and fish, so we're the best suited for a task like this. Anyway, I grabbed a little tooth. Traveling so far is a rare privilege for us, but as you can see, the journey can be unpredictable. So, the little tooth, that sounds like drawing the short straw, but usually the short straw is something negative, and this hunt should be positive, I think. Oh, I don't know. What are your thoughts on my search? Helps to know what you're hunting. You've got a lot of tracks to follow, but where they lead is anyone's guess. Let's move on. So yeah, that was a lot of talking and leveling up, so I will finish this quest or this episode now and continue the next one. And I haven't even, well, let's finish it off with choosing the next thing to build. So the barracks construction is completed, so we can choose a new upgrade, and we can use this to hire hirelings. So don't really know how it works. Perhaps it says something in this. Upgrading the barracks will allow you to employ hirelings to defend your stronghold during attacks, and we can have 8 people. That will cost 80 copper a day. It's not bad. Everyone costs the same. I don't really know what this influence or prestige will do. But let's go with some of these ones that have both things. Blooded thug sounds not that great, but I mean there's no reason to use these. I can just as well just hire one of each. It will give me the same net gain. I will need one with 2 prestige as well. So this will be some costs, running costs, but I guess it's worth it in some way. So what should we upgrade next? Upgrading the dungeons will allow you to take prisoners during the travels. Perhaps this was what I was going to do when I faced the mage before. If I had the dungeons, perhaps I could be able to imprison him instead of killing him. Let's build that.
Hey.
So, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next episode when we will do some adventuring instead. I will most likely go to well, I think it was the expedition hall, or I will continue with the main quests, which is go to the Temple of Vodica. We will see. But thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.